Okay, let's unpack this. We are doing a deep dive today into Bhagavad Gita, chapter 12.
That's right. Bhakti Yoga, the path of devotion.
And we've got quite a mix of sources, some online discussion, articles explaining it all, even a research paper looking at the Gita and psychological resilience.
Yeah, a good range. And our goal really is to dig into these and pull out the key insights. What's chapter 12 actually teaching about devotion?
Who's it for? How does it stack up against other paths?
And maybe most importantly, what does it mean for you? How is it relevant practically?
Because this chapter, it's often called a spiritual gem, isn't it? Really beloved.
Definitely. And it tackles this fundamental question, one that probably everyone wonders about at some point. What kind of devotion, what kind of connection is dearest to God?
So where does it start? What's the setup?
Well, it kicks off with Arjuna. He's just had this mind-blowing experience seeing Krishna's universal form in chapter 11.
Right, it must have been overwhelming.
Totally. And he's heard about these different paths, knowledge, action, meditation. So he asks Krishna, straight up, in verse 1, which is better?
Better how?
Like, should I worship the unmanifest, the formless, the Nirguna Brahman? Or is it better to focus on your personal form, Krishna, with love and surrender, Saguna Bhakti?
Ah, the big question. Abstract idea or personal connection?
Exactly. How do we even approach the divine?
It's a very relatable dilemma.
Yep.
So what's Krishna's first response?
Well, his initial answer in verse 12.2 is pretty direct. He says, those who fix their minds on him, the personal form, and worship with steady, supreme faith, they are considered the most perfect yogis, yuktatam, the most united.
Okay, so right away, that personal devotional connection gets the spotlight.
It does. But importantly, he doesn't just shut down the other path.
He acknowledges the formless approach, too.
Oh, absolutely. In the next few verses, 12.3 to 5, he makes it clear that those who strive for the unmanifest also reach him.
Okay, so both paths lead there eventually.
Yes, if they have control over their senses, if they see everyone equally, and if they're working for the welfare of all beings, those are the conditions.
So it's a valid path, but maybe requires certain prerequisites.
You could say that. But then comes the really crucial point, the caveat, in verse 12.5.
What's that?
He says that for embodied souls, that's us, living embodies the path of worshiping the unmanifest, the avyakta, is exceedingly difficult.
Exceedingly difficult. That sounds pretty strong. Is there a specific term for that?
There is. The Sanskrit is klesha dedikataras. It means the trouble, the tribulation, the difficulty is greater.
The tribulation is greater. Why? Why is focusing on the abstract so much harder for us?
Well, think about how we experience the world. Our minds, our senses, our emotions, they work with forms, qualities, relationships.
Yeah, we connect with things we can see, feel, relate to.
Exactly. Trying to pour your heart out to or sustain focus on something completely formless beyond all attributes, it's just very, very challenging for most people. It doesn't have that give and take, that sense of a personal relationship you get with Saguna Bhakti.
It lacks that sense of reciprocation.
Right. Sustaining that level of abstract focus usually takes a highly developed mind, often built through other practices first.
That makes a lot of sense. It feels more natural to direct love towards something or someone. Do the stories we looked at back this up?
They really do. Take Shabari from the Ramayana. She wasn't a scholar, not high caste.
Just a simple tribal woman, right?
Yes, her devotion was all about simple, patient love, waiting for Lord Ram. She offered him berries. She tasted, first, technically impure by ritual standards, but pure devotion.
And Ram accepted them.
Wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
One source quotes the sentiment, "It's not birth or caste, but pure devotion that makes one dear to me." Her story shows that heart connection trumps everything else.
And Prahlad. His story seems even more intense.
Oh, Prahlad is a classic example from the Bhagavatam. A young boy, his father, a powerful demon king, persecuting him terribly for his devotion to Lord Vishnu.
But he never wavered.
Never. He wasn't relying on intellect or status, just pure love. And when his father challenged him, asking if God was in a pillar, Lord Narasimha Vishnu's half-man, half-lion form burst out to protect him.
Wow.
And Lord Narasimha tells Prahlad something like, "It's not your birth, learning, or austerities. It's solely your pure devotion that pleases me." It perfectly echoes Gita 12.2.
It really underscores that it's about the heart's quality. What about King Ambarisha?
King Ambarisha's story, also from the Bhagavatam, shows the practical power of this personal devotion, Saguna Bhakti. He was a king, a householder, doing all his duties as offerings to Vishnu.
So engaged in the world, but devoted.
Exactly, and his devotion was so strong, Vishnu essentially became his protector when the sage Durvasa got angry and attacked him.
Ambarisha just surrendered.
He did. And Vishnu's divine discus, the Sudarshan chakra, intervened, protected Ambarisha, and chased Durvasa away.
That's incredible. Direct divine intervention.
It really highlights the immediate, tangible connection and protection that personal devotion can bring for someone living an embodied life. It feels more accessible, maybe sweeter, than the purely abstract path for many.
And this idea of devotion isn't just in the Gita, is it?
No, not at all. Other texts mention it too. The Mundaka Upanishad, which focuses a lot on knowledge, still says bhakti is the means.
Really? Even in a jnana text?
Yes, and Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, the guide for Raja Yoga meditation. It also includes a Yavrata Prachina, surrender to God, as a way to achieve the goal.
So devotion is recognized across different paths.
It is. It's often seen as a powerful, sometimes culminating aspect.
Okay, so summing up this first part. Both paths work, but for most of us, bhakti, devotion to a personal form, is presented as more practical, easier, and maybe more direct.
That captures it well. It meets us where we are with our human hearts and minds.
Got it. But Krishna understands that even focusing completely on a personal form can be tough, right? Like maintaining that focus 204/7.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where his compassion really shines. He doesn't just say, do this difficult thing. He offers a kind of ladder, progressive steps.
Like options depending on where you're at.
Exactly. This is in verses 12.8 through 12.1.
Wow.
He lays out a sequence.
What's the top rung? The ideal.
The ideal, verse 12.8 is, fix your mind completely on me. Total absorption in the divine form.
Okay. Pretty high bar. What if you can't quite manage that consistently?
Then, verse 12.9, if that's too hard, practice sadhana bhakti. Engage in disciplined spiritual practices focused on God.
Like chanting, worship, reading scriptures, serving devotees.
Precisely. Structured activities that consciously direct your mind and heart towards the divine.
And if even that feels like a struggle?
Well, if regular practice is difficult, then verse 12.10 suggests, engage in karma yoga, do your actions, your work, your duties, for my sake, offer them up.
Turn daily life into an offering.
Yes, make your work worship.
Okay, and there's one more step down for those finding even that challenging.
The final step offered in verse 12.11 is, if you can't even do actions for God consistently, then renounce the fruits of your actions.
Give up the results. Offer the outcome to God.
Yes. Do your best, but let go of attachment to the result. Offer it up. And this leads to a really interesting point in the next verse, 12.1.
What's that? It seems almost paradoxical.
It does.
Yeah.
Krishna says that this renunciation of the fruit of action is actually superior even to meditation.
Superior to meditation. Why?
Because, he says, peace immediately follows renunciation. Tagat shantir anantaram.
Peace immediately follows. That's a powerful claim. How does that work?
Think about where most of our stress comes from. It's usually tied to outcomes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Will I succeed? What will people think? Will I get the reward I want?
Yeah, all the anxiety about the future result.
Exactly. When you genuinely let go of that demand for a specific outcome, when you offer the result up, whatever it may be, you cut the root of that anxiety. Poof! Instant relief.
Okay. It's the letting go itself that brings the peace, regardless of the actual outcome.
Precisely. Like that analogy we saw about chanting. Mechanical chanting is one level. Chanting with understanding is better. Meditating while chanting, better still. But the moment you stop chanting for a specific result and just offer the act and its fruit to God, that detachment brings immediate calm.
Or the cake analogy. Giving it up brings more peace than fighting for it or even getting it sometimes.
Right. It frees you from the tension of expectation.
So this latter, it's not just about doing things. It leads towards this inner state of surrender, letting go of results.
It's all deeply connected to surrender, yes. Which brings us back to verses 12.6 and 7.
What do they promise?
They offer this incredible assurance. For those who dedicate all actions to me, focus their minds exclusively on me, worship me. I personally become their savior. I swiftly deliver them from the ocean of birth and death, the cycle of suffering.
Wow. Swift personal deliverance. That's huge.
It's a profound promise tied to that deep surrender.
How do the stories bring this idea of surrender to life?
Well, think of Vibhishan again from the Ramayana. He didn't just dedicate actions. He surrendered his entire identity, his kingdom, his family, everything, to join Ram.
He took a huge risk based on faith.
Totally. And Ram's response, immediate acceptance, no questions asked. Ram says something like, whoever comes to me once saying, I am yours, I grant them fearlessness. That's the power of total refuge.
And Sant Mirabai seems like the embodiment of surrendering everything for love.
Absolutely. Sant Mirabai, a princess, faced incredible opposition for her devotion to Krishna. She gave up royalty, family, societal expectations, everything.
Her famous line, "Only Giridhar Gopal is mine."
I belong to no one else. That's total surrender of mind, heart, life itself. And through that, she found immense inner strength and protection, even amidst external hardship.
And then there's Draupadi's story, a different kind of surrender.
Yes, Draupadi in the Mahabharata during that horrific disrobing scene, when all human help failed her husbands, the elders, everyone was powerless.
She finally let go.
She stopped trying to save herself, raised her hands, and cried out in complete, desperate surrender to Krishna. Hey Govinda, hey Krishna, protect me, Rakshamam.
And the help came immediately.
The endless stream of cloths appeared. It shows that even surrender, born of utter helplessness, when you truly let go of your own effort, invokes that divine protection Krishna promises.
These stories make the concept so vivid. Okay, so we have the core question, the path, the ladder, the surrender. What's next in the chapter?
After laying out the path and the promise, Krishna then describes the person who follows this path successfully. He paints a picture of the qualities of the devotee who is most dear to him.
Ah, like a checklist or a goal to aim for.
Exactly. Verses 12.3 through 12.20 detail these qualities. The sources mentioned there are quite a few, maybe 36 to 39, depending on how you count them. It's a portrait of the ideal seeker.
That sounds really useful. What are some of the key qualities he starts with?
He begins with how this devotee relates to others. The very first one is Advateya Sarvakutana, free from malice or hatred towards all beings.
Not just people you like, but everyone.
Everyone. One source connected this to seeing the divine in every heart, as Krishna mentions elsewhere, BG 15.1 feel. If God is in everyone, how can you hate them?
That shifts your perspective completely. What follows malice-free?
Being friendly, matrit, and compassionate, karon. Genuine goodwill towards all, helping others without judging them. Thinking about, how we act in difficult times. Do we help with an open heart?
That's a challenge. What about inner qualities, ego and possessions?
Crucial ones. Being free from I and mine, nirmaha, and devoid of ego, nirhakaran. Letting go of that possessiveness, that attachment to, this is me, this is mine.
Like Mira saying, only Giridhar Gopal is mine.
Perfect example. It's like striving to be that hollow flute, empty of self, ready for the divine breath.
And dealing with life's ups and downs, happiness and sadness.
That's samadukha balanced in joy and sorrow. Equanimity. Not getting swept away by pleasure or crushed by pain. Staying steady. Like that example of exam results, celebrating success or mourning failure, but not letting it define your inner state.
Much easier said than done.
Definitely a practice. And closely related is kami forgiving. Not holding grudges, not seeking revenge.
Focusing on your own growth instead of others' faults.
Yes. Recognizing our shared human tendency to err, as one source put it, and focusing inward.
Makes sense. What else is highlighted?
Santuda ever contented. Being satisfied with what you have, free from that constant craving for more. The sources link discontentment directly to expectation and sorrow. Trying to grab happiness through desires is like clutching sand, right?
It just slips through your finger.
Exactly. This contentment is considered so vital, it's actually listed as one of the traditional 9 forms of bhakti, Navda Bhakti.
Wow. So contentment and peace from renouncing results seem like key outcomes.
They are deeply intertwined. Other qualities mentioned include yatatma, self-controlled, mastery over senses, mind, intellect, and tanishkaya, firm resolve, steady determination in your practice.
Consistency is key.
And may arpita manabhuga, mind and intellect, surrendered to me. It's not just feeling devotion, but consciously directing your thoughts and understanding towards the divine too.
A whole being orientation. How about interacting with the world?
Yes, there's yasmano vijate loko, lokana vijate kaya, one by whom the world is not agitated, and who is not agitated by the world.
Staying calm yourself and not upsetting others unnecessarily.
Right. Maintaining inner peace and projecting that outwards, not letting external drama disturb your equilibrium.
That takes real inner strength.
It does. And related to that is Bhagavad Gita, free from fear, anxiety, and agitation. The idea is that attachment breeds fear. So as you detach through devotion, you become naturally fearless.
Letting go of the things fear can latch onto.
Exactly. Also, being anapikit expects nothing, free from dependence on external outcomes or validation. And Shusir pure, both externally and internally. Tak expert or skillful in action, but without attachment. Udasino unconcerned or impartial, not meddling unnecessarily, correcting with love, but without attachment.
Like that example of chanting while someone's loud nearby, you stay focused.
Precisely. He also mentioned Sarvaram Paparityagi, renouncing the sense of doership, and the initiation of new binding actions or desires, letting go of I am the doer.
And emotional stability.
Yes, yono yatina devena yeshakatina kakati, one who neither rejoices excessively, nor hates, nor grieves, nor desires strongly. Maintaining that balance. And shubishupapatiega, renouncing attachment to both good and bad results, transcending that duality through devotion.
Treating everyone and everything equally seems to be a recurring theme.
It is. Samayasho kamitra, equal to friend and foe. Tadamanopamanyo, the same in honor and dishonor. Chitosukarukel samai, in heat and cold, pleasure and pain. Samvividita, free from attachment.
Wow. And taking praise and criticism the same way.
Kulyan and Distuthirmoni takes praise and reproach alike, is silent contemplative. Zentuthio yenikanasit, contented with anything. Aniketa, having no fixed abode, meaning non-attachment to place. And finally, Steramachid elect, fixed and steady in devotion.
That is quite a list. It feels like a description of enlightenment itself.
It's definitely the ideal, the fruit of sustained, sincere practice. The key takeaway from the sources isn't that you need all these before you start, but that bhakti itself helps you cultivate them. They are the signs of progress.
Okay, so it's the destination, not the entry ticket.
Exactly.
This gives a really comprehensive picture of the path and the goal within Chapter 12. Let's zoom out a bit now. What's the broader relevance here? Who can actually walk this path?
Well, one of the most powerful takeaways emphasized across the board is bhakti's radical inclusivity.
Meaning?
Meaning it's open to everyone. Krishna states this very clearly in chapter 9, verse 9.32. Even those considered of sinful birth, women, merchants, laborers, if they take refuge in me, they reach the supreme goal.
So background, social status, gender, none of that matters.
Not in the slightest. The only qualification is a sincere heart. Think of the gopis, the cowherd women of Vrindavan.
Simple village women, right?
Exactly. No scholarly knowledge, no high status, but their pure, unadulterated love for Krishna is held up as the absolute pinnacle of devotion. Their example proves love is the only entry requirement.
That's incredibly empowering and accessible. And how does this fit into just normal daily life? Is it all about temple visits and prayers?
Not necessarily. That's another key point. Bhakti transforms everyday life. It's not confined to specific times or places.
How so?
Remember Krishna's instruction in chapter 9, verse 9.27. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer or give away, whatever austerity you perform, do it as an offering to me.
Ah, like the story of Saint Kabir, the weaver.
Perfect example. He didn't stop being a weaver. He just wove with remembrance, with devotion. His loom became his altar. His work became his prayer.
So any action done with that awareness and offering becomes yoga.
Precisely. Bhakti infuses the mundane with the sacred. It makes your whole life the spiritual path.
Now, connecting this to resilience, that research paper drew some specific links, didn't it?
It did. It argued convincingly that these Gita teachings, especially the cultivation of equanimity, staying balanced in pleasure and pain, success and failure, like we discussed from chapter 12 and also chapter 2.
That stability helps you bounce back.
Exactly. It builds psychological resilience. If you're not constantly thrown off balance by external events, you recover from adversity much more effectively.
And the letting go of results.
That's huge for resilience, too. Renouncing the sense of doership and attachment to outcomes, understanding that you control the effort, not necessarily the result, that other factors are involved.
It stops you from getting stuck in blame or regret.
Yes. It fosters acceptance and allows you to move forward. The paper framed bhakti itself as providing protective factors. By giving you a framework to understand suffering, a way to channel emotions constructively towards the divine, and crucially, by fostering that close personal relationship with God.
Like a friend you can rely on.
Like a friend, a guide, a protector, Sakya Bhakti. Think of saints like Tukaram, who faced immense hardship, but saw it as deepening his connection with God. That relationship becomes an unshakable anchor.
And realizing our own deeper nature.
That too. The paper linked resilience to the Gita's core teaching, that we aren't just this limited body-mind. We have that connection to the infinite, unchanging self, or Brahman, within. BG 7.8, 18.62.
Realizing that gives you inner strength.
Immense strength. Bhakti helps purify the mind and heart, making it easier to access and feel that connection, that inherent resilience.
So bhakti isn't just one path among others. It seems to integrate them all.
That's often how it's seen, yes. As a culmination or synthesis, it brings together action, karma yoga by offering actions, knowledge, jnana yoga by understanding the divine, and meditation, dhyana yoga by focusing the mind. But it adds that crucial element of love, which purifies everything.
So some sources, like the Narada Bhakti Sutra, call it the highest path.
They do. the highest means to the highest end. It's seen as the most direct way to the heart of the divine.
The sweet essence, maybe.
That's a lovely way to put it. Now, just a brief note on interpretation, as our sources touched upon this.
Different schools of thought see it differently.
Naturally, different traditions or sampradayas might emphasize certain aspects of Chapter 12 based on their overall philosophy. Commentaries reflect the commentator's perspective.
Right.
And while there are scholarly methods to try and find the core message across texts, our focus here has been on unpacking the insights within Chapter 12 itself, as presented in the materials we reviewed, and exploring its practical relevance.
Understood. Sticking to what the chapter and our sources highlight.
Exactly. Presenting those ideas clearly and impartially.
Well, this has been incredibly illuminating. Chapter 12 really does feel like a path that's both profound and deeply human.
It truly is. The central message seems to be one of hope and accessibility. That God isn't distant or unattainable, but incredibly close, reachable through the simple, powerful force of love and sincere devotion.
And while it honors other paths, bhakti is presented as perhaps the most natural and effective way for most of us to make that connection.
Leading to that inner peace, that resilience, that transformation in how we see ourselves in the world, and ultimately that surrender Krishna speaks of.
So a final thought for you listening. Krishna painted this beautiful picture of the devotee who is dearest to him, free from malice, compassionate, balanced, forgiving, contented, fearless. All those qualities.
As you reflect on that list, maybe ask yourself, which one of those qualities really stands out to you right now? Which one feels most relevant to where you are or where you'd like to grow?
And just consider, how could focusing on nurturing even that single quality, maybe through small daily efforts, offering those efforts up, how could that begin to shift your own experience, making your life feel more like that peaceful, resilient, connected journey Chapter 12 describes?